Steve Cassidy here for the final part of this video, which is where we actually make use of the cookie that we're generating, the session cookie, and use that to look up the user and then customize the form so that it knows who we are when we're submitting data. So here's the final part of the video about cookies and sessions. So we're sending back that cookie. We could do something with that. In the index handler, what we could do is say, do we have a cookie? Request.get cookie and session. So we use the same cookie name as we used down here, and we can find out if there's a cookie. Now if there isn't a cookie there, it's going to return none. So if session ID, then the name is going to be, we can say get name. So if we do have a session ID, then we can say find this person's name. Oh, in fact, yeah, or we could say, and then we could say name equals none if it's not there. But if you remember the way that we wrote get name is actually doing some checking of itself. So if it doesn't find it, it's supposed to return none. So what I could actually do is I could actually omit that check. So even if we didn't get a session ID, we could call this, and what that's going to try and do is get the name that corresponds to none, and that's going to give us none. So this should actually be good. And now I'm going to add this. In fact, what I'll do is just add that there like that. Okay, so the name now, the name value that I'm going to send into my template is going to be whatever the get name is. So then I can say in my name, if name welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to say welcome back. So if I get a request where there is a cookie, I'm going to try and get the person's name. If I recognize it, then that will be set, and we should be able to go. So if I request this page now, it says welcome back Jerry, because that's who I said I was. And if I now say I'm Steve again and I like eggs, now it says welcome back Steve, because the cookie that it's sending me each time it's generating a new cookie, and it's just remembering the last person who came there. But if I were to go, let's have another one. We'll start an incognito browser. So here this is a Chrome incognito window, which is not going to use the cookies that I sent. Okay, so now it's not got the cookies that I had before, and so I'm seeing the version that doesn't say welcome back Steve. Okay, so we can trust that's working. All right, so now we have a little version that says whenever I put my name in, it is going to create a cookie for me and remember who I am, but it's still asking my name every time. So it could be that what we could do now is in the case that we have a name, we could just not ask for the name, right? So only in the case that we don't have a name do we ask for the person's name. Then this query here that we get, this post handler, the name, this part we want to make conditional, or this part here we want to make conditional on whether there is a name. So if the name is there, then we will do those two things. Otherwise, we won't. No, that's not right. Yes, that's right. That's right, because that form, if the form doesn't have a name in it, then we don't want to go creating a cookie. But when it does have a name in it, then we will create a cookie. So let's try running this. So now we have something that likes that doesn't ask for my name, but it's storing all of these against me. So in fact, we don't know who they're stored against, do we? So we could be we still don't have all the information, but we're seeing that it's not asking my name, and it's adding these things nicely, and it says welcome back Steve. What I can try and do is I can go and do my incognito window again, and here's my incognito window that likes all those things. My name is, if I say my name is Jerry and I like bread as well, then now it's remembering. So incognito windows do have their own cookie history, and so I can add these things and then go back here and I see those things that the other user liked. So I've got two users now, I've got Jerry and I've got Steve, and I should be adding different things to my database. And we actually have the name of the person in the database, don't we? So we can actually go in, and when we say get likes, what we could do is say select the name and the thing, and then one, we could do that. We could actually return lists of two things from the database. See what that produces. Oh, it makes it crash. A pen takes actually one argument. All right, so we've got to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get tuples of name and thing before I just had the one individual thing. Okay, so there it's not very funky, it's not very clean, but we can see we've got those things. Let's make it a bit nicer. So when we've got the likes, so we've got like 0. So the first thing in the list is the person likes like 1. So person likes thing, right? There you go. So Steve likes milk, Jerry likes milk, and so on. And so Jerry here likes potatoes, and none likes potatoes. Because we've forgotten who Jerry is. That's interesting. Got a bug there. So what would I like? So Steve, who am I? I like money. None likes money. So we seem to have forgotten, interestingly, we are now recording things for none instead of Steve and Jerry. So if I, let's try and start a new incognito window to try and debug this. Okay. Ooh, wrong one. Okay, so we have this new incognito window. It doesn't know who we are. If I say I'm Mark and I like grits, it says welcome back Mark, and it says Mark likes grits. And now it says what do I like? I like paper, and it says none likes paper. So it looks just like the symptom we have is that the first time I enter my name, it's remembering who I am. Steve likes milk and Jerry and so on. But when we're using the cookie, when it knows who we are, it knows we're Mark, but it's not adding that to the database. So that's a bit of a weird behavior. So what we've got is that when we are, all right, that makes sense, right? So in here, in the index handler, we are finding out who the person is, we're getting their name from the session ID. And then we're putting that into the template. When we get a like, in this case, we don't get the person's name. So it's not in the form, we don't make the session. And so then we don't know who they are, name is going to be none. All right, in this case, it didn't get it from the form, and so we don't know who they are. So in the case when the name isn't sent in the form, we need to get the name from the database. And to do that, we need the session ID. So we need this code up here. Okay, so the session ID there, and need this get name thing here. All right. So we have two options here. The first is that the name is in the form, and then we make a new session and then send it in the cookie. If there's no name sent, we've got to try and get the name from the session and set it that way, get it out of the database, and then we can add that name. So let's see if this works. Restart that, have a look at our browser. So here we are still Steve, and let's see if Steve likes pens. Then now it's remembered that I like pens, and if over here Mark likes pens, Mark likes pens. Steve likes eggs. Yep. Mark likes blur. Okay, so now it seems to be remembering who we are and acting accordingly. Now I can go and drop the cookies. If we go to our developer tools, and what we can do is, if you go to application on here, you can see cookies, and you can see the cookie there is the session cookie, and I can just delete it. Okay, now when I refresh the page, it doesn't know who I am again, so I can now say I am Michael, and I like work. Now you can see the cookies reappeared. We've got another cookie, and that we are now a new person. Okay, so that's our logout procedure. That's not very nice, is it? So we probably better eventually find a way of forgetting somebody. So we have our little application that uses cookies to remember who we are. When we arrive at a page, we say, my name is Steve, and then it doesn't need to ask our name again. It already remembers who we are using this sessions table. And this sessions table, very simple, contains only the session ID, which is this random identifier that we've used, and the name that we want to remember. And we can use that to identify somebody wherever they might come to our site. And we do that with these two lines of code, which is get the cookie from whichever the cookie we decide to use, whichever cookie name we decide to use, and then do this query on the sessions table to find out who that corresponds to. And we have that in a couple of places in the code. All right, it was a bit of a long video, hopefully a useful example walking through the development of that application. Thank you.